All right, welcome back to SportsLine, everybody. We switch gears and talk a little golf. The British Open, or the Open Championship, gets started in just a matter of hours across the pond. Golf's third major of the year. And who better to break it down than our good friend, PGA teaching professional Virgil Heron. You see his great golf tips on our Sunday night Sports Central show every week. Virgil, what's up, buddy? Good to have you on.
So far, so good.
Virgil, how do you feel about the British Open? First of all, is it the British Open or is it the Open Championship? That's question number one. Number two, I've always loved it. I love links golf. I love it when it's windy and rainy and it's overcast and cloudy. I've just always enjoyed, from an aesthetic standpoint, watching the British Open. It actually is my favorite major. And, you know, I watch the Masters. I watch the U.S. Open. I keep an eye on the PGA Championship. But I just love the aesthetics of the British Open. Where does the British Open or Open Championship, where does it rank for you?
Well, it's called the Open, and I just read an interesting article from an Irish tour player named Paul McGinley, who said that if you ever called it the British Open, you'd get like 50 smacks across the face.
Really?
Yeah, and the Open Championship is almost considered the U.S. Open, so it's called the Open, which is the Worldwide Open Championship. So it's just called the Open. That's what they'd like it to be. So, and I love the Open Championship. I love British links golf. I love Irish links golf. That whole, where history started for golf. I love it. I love the way the game is played over there. It's not my favorite major. The Masters is my favorite major, but the Open Championship is really close behind it. And the history of golf is there. It's the most unique tournament because of the weather, the conditions, and the style of golf that it's played under. We see, for 1 week of the year, we see different shots than we'll see all year long. And it tests the golfer's creativity and talents differently than any other tournament of the year, and that's why I love it.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, so we need to call it the Open. All right, Virgil Heron is our guest. We're talking about the Open, which gets started in just a few hours across the pond. What do we need to know about this year's, where it's being played this year? Tell us about the course.
Well, Troon is, historically speaking, a very well bunkered golf course that doesn't really benefit the longer hitter. It's more about position. And obviously it depends on the wind and the weather. Many things change when the wind and the weather change there. So, but historically, it has been a golf course that rewards an American player his one and only major championship. Weiskopf, Calcavecchia, Justin Leonard, Todd Anderson, all four of those players have their only majors are the Open Championship at Royal Troon.
Wow.
So historically speaking, it does not benefit the greatest player of the time. Although Tom Watson won in '82, generally speaking, it has basically provided the one and done, so to speak. Whether it's because of the conditions they played under, or it's what kind of golf course it is, it does not usually bring out the very best player to win that tournament.
Yeah, I remember when Justin Leonard won the Open Championship some 20-some years ago. All right, let's talk about Dustin Johnson. He finally gets over, wins his first major. What kind of momentum do you think that can carry, having won the U.S. Open, into the Open Championship?
Well, he plays the Open very well. He's had a chance to win the year that McIlroy won in 14, and he had outside of hitting the ball out of bounds, the year that Ben Curtis won, he had a chance to win there. So he's had multiple chances to win this golf tournament. Generally speaking, players who hit the golf ball very long have a huge advantage in the wind. So he's a definite threat. I expect him to have a very good chance going into the weekend. I just believe it's going to be somebody who wins their first major, kind of like the trend of the whole year has been so far.
Rory McIlroy, you mentioned him. You know, everybody talks about like the big four, the Fab Four in golf: Johnson, McIlroy, Spieth, and who's the third one I'm missing?
Jason Day.
Thank you very much, Jason Day. And McIlroy kind of snapped back at that a little bit, saying, well, look, I've got 4 majors. Those guys combined have 3, so I don't know if you can lump me into this Fab Four. I was talking with Brian McKeegan, our executive producer, earlier today, who's a big golf fanatic, as you know, and I think McIlroy's a little fired up. I think his Irish is up a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was contending for the lead on the back nine on Sunday. Thoughts?
Oh, well, I mean, first of all, he's my favorite player, and I would love to see him win. He's got massive game. He and Dustin Johnson and Jason Day have the most game. And there was an interesting poll question on Twitter the other day of if all three of them had their very best game, who's the best player? And I still think it's McIlroy. When McIlroy is on, nobody has it all more than he does. But it's only by barely, because all three of these players are super elite. But he's a Ferrari, man. He's a superstar, and I'd love to see it. I don't expect him to win it, just because the wind is going to be vicious the first 2 days, and on the back nine, it's going to be blown left to right over his back, and he does not necessarily play well in those conditions. It will be interesting to see, but man, I'd love to see it.
And what about Jason Day? How do you think he shapes up this weekend?
Well, right now he is the total package. He's the only person of the Fab Four that has it all. He has the power, he has the precision, he has the short game and the putting. You know, Dustin Johnson and Rory struggle with the putting. Jordan Spieth struggles with the tee-ball and his iron play. Right now, Jason Day has the best of the total package, and his mental game is spot on with all of them. So Jordan, right now, I would say that this golf course sets up better for Jordan Spieth than anybody, but Jason Day has got a great chance.
And what about Spieth? You know, he seemed like to be in control at the Masters, and then he ran into that tricky 12th hole. Wasn't really much of a factor late at the U.S. Open. Where do you see his game right now as we get ready for this third major of the year?
Well, his confidence isn't very high, and I don't really expect him to win. But this golf course, once again, does not require a lot of length to play. It's not a very long golf course. And he's one of the very best game managers and has a spectacular short game, maybe the best short game on the tour now. He's going to be a threat. I don't expect him to win, but there's no way that he's not on the leaderboard coming into the back nine on Sunday.
Virgil Heron, PGA teaching professional, is our guest here on SportsLine. You, of course, can follow him on Twitter at Virgil Tourspin. You've seen him on the Golf Channel. You've seen him on Sunday nights on the Electric Power Company Sunday Sports Central with myself and Steve Lehman giving those great golf tips. Virgil will be with us in studio this Sunday night to break down the final round of the Masters, the Open Championship. See, I got Masters on the brain. So Virgil will be in. He'll break that down, talk about the winner, and maybe look ahead to the PGA Championship. I want to ask you another question about this Fab Four, Virg. I, for one, think that it's really cool that you have this Fab Four. They're all, young guys. They're all either entering or at their prime. It looks like these guys are going to be factors on the tour for many, many years. And you still have guys like Ricky Fowler just on the outside looking in. I think it's better for golf almost that you have these 4, maybe 5 guys to choose from, as opposed to waiting for one guy, Tiger Woods, to come back and dominate the tour, which you and I both know is not going to happen again.
Yeah, the days of Tiger dominating are long gone. We may have gotten spoiled by I don't believe there's any question that nobody's ever played the game with the kind of dominance that Tiger Woods played. I'm not even sure that there's anybody who's ever played a sport that has dominated like Tiger dominated. But the game, the breadth and the width of awesome players has never been deeper and wider. So there's so many awesome players. There's so many players that we haven't even talked about that have a legitimate chance of winning this weekend, and also the PGA Championship 2 weeks from now. It is so deep and so wide that it's unbelievable. Yes, the Big Four have separated themselves because they've won basically 7 of the last 8 majors, but still, any one of 15 people have a legitimate chance. And there's, it's golf's in a great place right now.
I was going to say, it's good for golf that we have this, right?
No question about it. I think that it's good for golf when it goes from one dominant player to a group of great players back to one dominant player, because every 10 years we get a superstar, like beyond legend. We had Hogan, and then Palmer, then Nicklaus, then Watson, then Norman, then Tiger, and now you still have to say that McIlroy with 4 in the last 4 years. You got to be thinking that McIlroy is that guy. If he wins this one, obviously put himself on the map in a different ballgame than anybody else since Tiger. But in between those 10-year spans, there's a collection of other great players that stick their nose in it for a short amount of time, and that's what I see right now. is that Spieth has got 2, Day's got 1, Dustin's got 1, and McIlroy's got 4. And let's see what happens, but I still think McIlroy's the class of those 4.
I happen to agree. All right, you mentioned just a 2-week gap in between the Open Championship and the PGA Championship, and that, of course, is because of the Olympics. Several top golfers have decided not to go to Rio for fear of the Zika virus. I know Jordan Spieth, one of them, Dustin Johnson, one of them. Can't really blame Dustin Johnson, who wants to start a family with Paulina Gretzky. Can't blame him there. Is it a big deal that some of these top-name golfers aren't going to play in the Olympics?
Well, I think that we need to let time play this out. I think it's more than just Zika. I believe that the security is also an issue. Mm-hmm. And that's what Jordan Spieth cited. And I do have, my wife is from Brazil, and she's actually there right now, so I have plenty of inside information about what's going on in Brazil. I believe that it is more to do with security than it does Zika. Mm-hmm. But I believe that they're using it as an easier way to get out because they don't want to create a political situation where they're talking about a country that's really struggling right now to hold on. There's political corruption within the president and the vice president. I mean, it's a disaster down there right now.
Yeah.
I think that that's the bigger issue more than the Zika. Does it hurt golf? It hurts golf if somebody unknown wins the gold medal. But if Bubba Watson wins the gold medal, if Ricky Fowler wins the gold medal, if one of those two guys win it, it's huge. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But if somebody unknown wins it, I think it's doomed after Tokyo, personally. But if Bubba Watson wins, or especially if Ricky Fowler wins, that's like gigantic in the world of golf because he's so popular, and that would be the savior to all the guys that have opted out due to security and nor Zika.
Virgil, we appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. We'll see you Sunday night and break down the final round of the Open Championship. Thanks again for being on.
I look forward to it, Joe. Have a great one, buddy.
All right. And stay with us. We'll be right back.